It is called the Enchanted River, a stretch of water so blue, so impossibly clear, that legends say it was painted by spirits, but beauty hides danger. Beneath its glowing surface yawns a labyrinth of caves no sunlight has ever touched. On January 10, 2014, Dr. Alonso Amores, one of the Philippines' most skilled divers, slipped beneath that surface chasing discovery. Minutes later, the river closed in. Darkness swallowed his light, air hissed away, and the Enchanted River claimed him. What happened in those final moments would haunt every diver who dared to follow. The Enchanted River lies in Surigao del Sur, on the island of Mindanao in the southern Philippines. Tourists see a vision of paradise, a narrow ribbon of water glowing in shades of sapphire, its surface so clear that fish appear suspended in air. Locals call it mystical, a place where spirits guard the depths. Scientists know it as a geological marvel, a spring-fed river fed by subterranean channels. But for divers, the allure was never just the beauty above. It was the darkness below. The Enchanted River does not reveal its source. Its bottom disappears into a black chasm, a vertical drop leading to twisting passages still unmapped. For years, explorers wondered how far the cave reached, how deep the water ran. Few dared to test it. Those who did returned, shaken, describing it as one of the most unforgiving dives in the Philippines. Dr. Alonso Amores was no amateur. A respected surgeon and one of the Philippines' most experienced cave divers, he had logged countless hours underwater. But the Enchanted River was different. It was a mystery that resisted answers, a vertical chasm so deep that no one had fully charted it. For Amores, it was the ultimate challenge. On January 10, 2014, he and his team prepared to dive. Tourists gathered at the riverbank, watching with curiosity as the men laid out tanks, reels of guideline, and lights. The midday sun lit the river in surreal blues, but beneath the surface waited a tunnel of pitch black. Amores checked his equipment with calm precision. He had done this many times before. His plan was straightforward: descend into the chasm, document its structure, and push the known limits of the cave just a little farther. With a final signal, he slipped beneath the surface. At first, the dive unfolded smoothly. His light carved through clear water, revealing the limestone walls that plunged into shadow. He unspooled his reel, securing the guideline as his tether back to safety. Depth increased quickly, 20 meters, 30, then beyond. The walls tightened into a funnel and visibility dimmed. Still, he pressed deeper. The water grew colder, the light weaker, the walls rougher. Behind him, his safety divers hovered closer to the surface, watching his bubbles vanish into the blackness. For a time, everything appeared controlled, but in caves like the Enchanted River, control can evaporate in seconds. As Amores pushed deeper into the chasm, the walls pressed tighter. His light, once a steady guide, now illuminated only fragments of stone before vanishing into black. At these depths, even the calmest diver feels the weight of the earth above, the silence of a place where no mistake is forgiven. Somewhere beyond 40 meters, visibility collapsed. A swirl of silt, stirred by a fin or dislodged from the cave wall, filled the water like smoke. The brilliant blue above was gone. Now there was only darkness. Amores' reel stretched behind him, his lifeline, but in the confusion of the narrowing passage, he drifted from it. Disorientation is swift in overhead environments. Left becomes right, up becomes nowhere, and the pressing need for air erases reason. His breathing quickened, regulator hissing faster, every exhale clouding the water with bubbles. He tried to regain the line, reaching, sweeping, but his hands found only jagged limestone. Above, his safety divers waited, uneasy. The minutes ticked by. His bubbles did not return. When they finally descended in search, they found only silence. Amores' body was later discovered deeper in the passage, still in full gear, regulator in place. His tanks were empty. The cave had claimed him as it had warned so many others. For all his training, all his experience, the Enchanted River proved merciless. The death of Dr. Alonso Amores shook both the diving world and the Philippines at large. To the public, it was unthinkable that the turquoise jewel known as the Enchanted River, a place celebrated for its beauty, could also be a tomb. For divers, it was a chilling reminder that even mastery and discipline cannot guarantee survival in a cave that hides its secrets so well. The recovery was slow and agonizing. Rescue teams re-entered the flooded passage where Amores had vanished, forced to fight poor visibility and tight restrictions at every turn. Hours dragged on as they searched inch by inch until at last their lights revealed him. His body lay still in the very darkness he had sought to illuminate. Bringing him back was a grim battle against the cave itself, which seemed unwilling to surrender what it had taken. In the days that followed, authorities declared the Enchanted River off-limits for further exploration. Its true depths would remain a mystery, guarded by the memory of a man who had given everything to reveal them. The frozen waters of Finland's Havry mine reflected nothing of the danger below. What began as a winter dive into abandoned depths soon unraveled into a nightmare. Visibility gone, the way out lost, and hours ticking by in icy silence. When rescue finally came, the story of survival would grip an entire nation, proving that even in the darkest tunnels, a thread of hope can hold. In central Finland, the Havry mine lies quiet, its industrial life long past. Once a bustling gold and copper operation, the mine was abandoned in the mid-20th century, leaving behind a labyrinth of tunnels, shafts, and chambers now flooded with groundwater. Over time, the mine's dark, water-filled passages drew a different kind of explorer. Divers eager to test themselves in one of the most challenging environments imaginable. Unlike Florida's limestone caves or Mexico's cenotes, Havry carries the mark of human engineering. Its walls bear the scars of drills and explosives, rougher and more angular than natural stone. The water is cold, often near freezing, and visibility can vanish in an instant when silt or rust is disturbed. Despite the hazards, abandoned mines like Havry hold a powerful allure. They promise adventure in places rarely seen, silent worlds where history lingers in every wall. Divers navigate around rusting machinery, collapsed supports, and long-forgotten tools left to decay beneath the surface. The combination of industrial relics and natural reclamation creates an atmosphere unlike any other, a place both man-made and reclaimed by darkness. By the winter of 2020, mine diving in Finland had become a small but dedicated pursuit. Experienced divers sought the thrill of depth and distance, drawn to Havry's reputation for mystery and danger. But every expedition carried risk. Overhead environments mean there is no direct ascent to the surface. Once inside, a diver's only safety comes from training, discipline, and the guidelines stretch back to daylight. For locals, the Havry mine was a relic of the past. For divers, it was a test of endurance. And for one man who entered its waters that winter day, it would become the setting of a struggle between life and death, a battle fought in silence, beneath tons of rock and ice. The morning was cold, the kind of Finnish winter day where frost clung to every surface and the mine's flooded entrance steamed faintly in the frigid air. The divers preparing on the bank were no amateurs. They carried advanced training and experience, men who had ventured into overhead environments before and understood the discipline required. Yet the Havry mine was different. Its depth, its unforgiving cold, and its maze-like structure demanded both precision and respect. Gear was laid out carefully on the icy ground. Twin cylinders, reels of line, backup lights, dry suits, and regulators designed for extreme cold. All essential for survival in a place where even a minor malfunction could escalate into disaster. The divers checked and rechecked their equipment, speaking little. They had chosen the Havry mine for its challenge, for the opportunity to push themselves into a world few would ever see. The plan seemed straightforward. They would descend through the mine's main shaft, following established guidelines into deeper chambers. The dive would test their endurance, but with discipline and careful monitoring, it remained within the limits of their training. Still, every diver knew that no plan survives unchanged once submerged. Mines like Havry have a way of shifting conditions without warning. The water was near freezing, a few degrees above ice, and it pressed cold against every seam of their suits as they descended. Their lights cut pale beams through the dark, illuminating rusted timbers and walls scarred by long abandoned blasting. For the first minutes, everything was controlled. The guidelines stretched taut behind them. Bubbles crackled against the ceiling, and the dive proceeded with the steady rhythm of experience, yet beneath the surface calm, tension always lingered. The mine's reputation was not earned lightly. Divers who had explored Havry before spoke of passages where visibility dropped to nothing in seconds, of equipment strained by the relentless cold, of routes that seemed straightforward but became disorienting under pressure. These were the hazards that waited unseen, hazards that would soon turn routine exploration into a desperate struggle for survival. At first, the dive unfolded as planned. The divers descended into the black shaft, their beams bouncing across rock walls and the skeletal remains of mining equipment left to rust. The guidelines stretched neatly behind them, a lifeline to the surface as they penetrated deeper into the mine's passages. Each kick of a fin stirred faint clouds of rust and silt, but visibility held steady, the water absorbing their movements with eerie silence. The Havry mine is not a place of wide caverns or graceful limestone arches. Its structure is angular and unnatural, blasted rock giving way to steep inclines and vertical drops. Navigation requires sharp focus, with constant awareness of depth, air supply, and orientation. For long minutes, the dive progressed smoothly. The men exchanged signals, checked gauges, and pressed onward into the depths. Then the mine began to shift against them. A careless fin stroke, a sudden turn, perhaps even a small collapse. Whatever the trigger, a cloud of silt surged upward, transforming the water into a dense brown fog. Visibility, once steady, dropped instantly to nothing. The divers' beams dissolved in the haze, and the world shrank to the reach of a hand. This was the nightmare scenario. In an overhead environment, a silt out erases direction and magnifies fear. The guideline becomes the only thread between survival and entrapment. One of the divers kept contact with the line, clinging to it as his compass in the dark. But the other, in the confusion, drifted just far enough to lose it. He reached out blindly, hands scraping against stone, but found only rough rock. Disoriented, he tried to retrace his movements, but the mine offered no forgiveness. Every attempt to swim stirred more debris, thickening the fog. His breathing quickened, regulator hissing louder with each inhale. Training teaches calm, but panic seeps in when air begins to dwindle and the exit is nowhere to be seen. His partner, tethered to the guideline, realized the separation and made the agonizing choice to retreat towards safety. In such conditions, a lost diver is nearly impossible to locate without risking 2 lives instead of 1. He surfaced, shaken, to raise the alarm, knowing his friend was still below. fighting both the mine and the clock. Meanwhile, the trapped diver pressed deeper into darkness, searching desperately for the lost line. Hours passed in the icy water. By sheer determination, he managed to find an air pocket within the mine, clinging to survival against impossible odds. Alone in the flooded labyrinth, every minute carried the weight of uncertainty, whether rescue would come or whether the mine would become his tomb. When the surviving diver broke the surface, his words carried urgency. One of their team was still trapped below, somewhere in the flooded labyrinth of the Havry mine. Local rescue services were contacted, and soon a response was underway. The challenge was immense. Mines like Havry are treacherous even for skilled explorers, and sending in rescuers meant exposing them to the same dangers: zero visibility, frigid water, and mazes that offered no direct ascent. Still, the decision was made quickly. The missing diver had to be found. The longer he remained inside, the slimmer his chances became. Specialized mine rescue divers arrived on scene. They prepared meticulously, layering redundant tanks, reels of line, and high-powered lights designed to cut through the gloom. Experience told them what they were up against. They knew that in such conditions, even a diver with training and composure might last only hours before exhaustion or hypothermia overcame him. Inside the mine, the missing diver fought to stay alive. He had stumbled upon a rare air pocket trapped in the ceiling of a shaft. It was small, barely enough to keep his head above water, but it offered the one thing he needed most: breath. Above ground, rescuers coordinated their search. They entered the flooded shafts in teams, laying new lines to ensure they would not suffer the same fate. The water was thick with silt, visibility reduced to inches, but their hands followed the lines and their minds mapped every turn. They knew the missing man could be anywhere, wedged in a corridor, trapped in a chamber, or waiting in one of the mine's hidden air bells. Hours slipped by. Tension mounted on the surface, where family and friends waited, their hope balanced against dread. Then, after nearly 8 hours beneath the surface, the rescuers' lights pierced through the dark to reveal the unthinkable. The diver was alive, huddled in the small air pocket, exhausted but conscious. Relief surged through the rescuers as they signaled to him, guiding him carefully back through the labyrinth toward safety. When he finally broke the surface, gasping the cold air of Finland's winter, cheers erupted. Against all odds, he had endured. His survival was a testament not only to his determination, but also to the skill and persistence of the rescue teams who refused to abandon him to the mine's depths. The rescue at Havry mine quickly became one of Finland's most talked about diving stories. Local and national media covered the ordeal in detail, framing it as both a cautionary tale and a rare triumph. Survival after nearly 8 hours trapped in freezing, flooded mine shafts was almost unheard of, and the diver's endurance inspired admiration even as it underscored the risks of mine diving. For the diving community, the incident was dissected carefully. In training courses and safety briefings, instructors highlighted the chain of events: the silt out that erased visibility, the lost guideline, the separation of partners, and the desperate reliance on an air pocket. Each step became a teaching point, reinforcing the unyielding rules of overhead environments: never lose the line, never underestimate cold, and always respect the mine. The diver himself became a reluctant figure of survival. Interviews described his hours of waiting in darkness, the cold pressing in, and the mental focus required to resist panic. His story reminded others that even in the most hostile settings, calm and conservation can mean the difference between life and death. Locally, Havry mine gained a sharper reputation. What was once a forgotten industrial site now stood as both a lure and a warning. Some divers saw it as a challenge, drawn by the tale of survival, while others avoided it altogether, convinced that no thrill justified such risk. For residents of the region, the mine was no longer just a relic of history, but a symbol of both danger and endurance. The legacy of the incident lives on not as tragedy, but as a narrow escape. In the language of diving, Havry became a reminder that survival in overhead environments often hinges on a thread, the line, the light, or a pocket of air. That winter day, against all odds, the thread held. Today, the Havry mine lies silent, its shafts filled with icy water, its tunnels abandoned to darkness. To most, it is only a relic of industry past, but to those who know its story, it is a place forever marked by survival. One diver entered its depths and lost all sense of direction, yet clung to life in a fragile air pocket while hours slipped away. The mine gave him no mercy, yet against those odds, he endured long enough to be found. His survival was not a victory over the mine, but a reminder of its power. Standing at its edge, one sees only still water, but beneath that calm surface lies a labyrinth where life and death can hinge on a single line, a single breath, or the patience to wait in the dark. Havry's lesson endures. In places built by man and reclaimed by nature, survival belongs not to strength alone, but to discipline, luck, and the will to endure the depths.